This is project number R2009-02089. Mr. Thurtell will make the staff report.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Adam Thurtell from Zoning Permits North Section. And before I start, the appellant has submitted some color copies. This is a supplement to what was on your desk this morning. It's from the appellant, sorry. Today's staff presents agenda item number 9, project number R2009-02089, conditional use permit number 2009-00158. And a quick clarification, the applicant is listed as NRG Solar LLC. The full name for the applicant is NRG Solar Alpine LLC. The applicant, NRG Solar Alpine LLC, proposes a 92 megawatt alternating current photovoltaic electric generating facility located on approximately 800 acres in the A2 heavy agriculture zone. The photovoltaic panels and all other associated installations would encompass approximately 580 acres of the total project area, and the project would include a yard modification for a 6-foot tall chain link fence along the perimeters of the two portions of the project, and a 1-mile underground 66 kilovolt generation tie line. The project will connect to the Neenich substation located at State Route 138 and 210th Street West via the 1-mile undergrounded gen tie line. This project and the associated mitigated negative declaration were approved by the hearing officer on December 21st, 2010, and the hearing officer's decision was appealed by two parties, Fairmont Town Council and West Side Concerned Citizens / Friends of Antelope Valley Open Space. The Fairmont Town Council has requested to withdraw its appeal. The remaining appellant, has provided staff with appeal materials. The reasons given for the appeal are all concerned in various ways with the environmental document, which is a mitigated negative declaration, or MND. The information staff will present today will address these concerns, and staff would like to begin by clarifying a couple of things. First, regarding the use of the mitigated negative declaration as the document. The hearing officer's approval of the conditional use permit was based on a complete analysis of the site and surroundings, including land uses in the vicinity and existing wildlife. Information gathered from site visits, including visits by independent biologists and fish and game biologists and county staff, and studies of the most recent aerial photos available, were included along with materials submitted by the applicant. Details of this analysis are included in the staff report and the MND. And as the Commission is aware, environmental review begins with an initial study. During the initial study process, it was determined that there would be environmental impacts that require mitigation. And it was for this reason that the mitigated negative declaration was determined to be the correct document under the California Environmental Quality Act. In September 2010, the draft MND was circulated to 69 different groups, including 18 community and public interest groups. Groups on the distribution list for the MND include County Public Health, Fire and Department of Public Works, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, California Fish and Game, Environmental Protection Agency for California and for the United States, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, South Coast Air Quality, the California Native Plant Society, the Nature Conservancy, Sierra Club, and the Center for Biological Diversity. The final MND was prepared and circulated according to CEQA requirements, and at no point during this process was staff asked to prepare an environmental impact report. The impacts have been identified in the MND and outlined in a mitigation monitoring program, or MMP, and the applicant must meet the requirements of this MMP as a condition of approval for the permit. One example of a mitigation measure included in the MMP is the relocation of burrowing owls to the satisfaction of Fish and Game, and staff recently received an email from Fish and Game biologists indicating that they were satisfied with the burrowing owl plan. Materials provided by the appellant contain information about significant ecological areas, or SEAs, which are specifically designated areas with code requirements. This project is not in an SEA. An SEA borders part of the project site, but there are no requirements or guidelines for SEA buffers or for land that borders an SEA. SEA requirements apply only to land that is in an SEA. Now to the details from the staff analysis. The applicant requests a conditional use permit to authorize a solar photovoltaic electric generating plant on 800 acres in the A2 heavy agriculture zone. The project meets the definition of electric generating plant in the county zoning code, and pursuant to county code, electric generating plants are a use subject to conditional use permit in the A2 zone. The project is located between Avenue B and 210th Street West in the Antelope Valley West Zone District in the community of Neenich. The site plan depicts two portions of the project, all of which are bounded by West Avenue B to the north, West Avenue C to the south, 220th Street West to the west, and 200th Street West to the east. The western portion of the project, referred to as the western parcel in the project documents, consists of 9 contiguous parcels, and the eastern portion of the project, referred to as the eastern parcel in project documents, consists of 2 contiguous parcels. The 2 portions of the project are approximately 1/2 mile apart. A natural drainage channel runs east-west across the northern part of the western parcel and across the northwestern corner of the eastern parcel. No construction will take place in the drainage channel, and the area north of the channel will remain vacant. The project will be connected to the Neenich substation, as mentioned, located at State Route 138 and 210th Street West, by a 1 mile long undergrounded 66 kilovolt generation tie line that would run north to south along an unpaved portion of 210th Street West. As previously mentioned, the Department of Regional Planning has determined that a mitigated negative declaration is the appropriate environmental documentation under California Environmental Quality Act reporting requirements. The mitigation monitoring program includes considerations for impacts from fire, flooding, and water quality. And the initial study concludes that the project design and the suggested conditions will adequately mitigate these impacts to a level of no significance. Pursuant to county code, the community was appropriately notified of the public hearing by mail, newspaper, property posting, library posting and the Department of Regional Planning public website posting. One objection arose based on the public notification of this project, specifically that the documents were available in the Rosamond Public Library, and staff chooses the library based on proximity to the project site. The Rosamond Public Library is the closest library to the project site. Also, all materials that were made available at the Rosamond Public Library were also available online, which makes them able to be accessed by any public library with internet connection. There are no permits previously issued for the subject property. The western parcel of the subject property, which comprises 600 acres of the project, has consisted of farmland with farmsteads dating back to at least 1952 and vacant land before that dating back to at least 1922. Portions of the subject property have been used for farming carrots for approximately the last 2 years. The subject property was leased by Mr. John Calandri of Calandri Sunrise Farms, LP, and as mentioned, subject property has been used for farming carrots for the last 2 years. The eastern parcel of the subject property, which comprises 200 acres of the project, has consisted of vacant farmland dating back to at least 1952. A structure was constructed on the northwestern portion of parcel number 3256002013 between 1975 and 1989. The use of the structure could not be determined, and in 2002 a pre-manufactured home and a barn were constructed on the southeastern portion of parcel number 3256002012. There are 2 groundwater wells on the subject property used for irrigating on-site farms. This is for the eastern parcel. There are also 2 groundwater wells on the western parcel. The project site is located in a rural area of the Antelope Valley in the northern portion of Los Angeles County. The nearest rural residential communities are Neenich, located approximately 3 miles from the western boundary of the project site, and Antelope Acres, located approximately 10 miles from the eastern boundary of the project site. The closest residence is approximately 4,000 feet from the western boundary. The largest communities in the vicinity of the project site include Rosamond, approximately 18 miles to the northeast, and Lancaster, approximately 20 miles to the southeast. The Los Angeles County Desert Pines Wildlife Sanctuary is approximately 4 miles to the south. The Arthur B. Ripley Desert Woodland State Park is approximately 3 miles to the south, and the Antelope Valley Poppy Preserve State Park is approximately 7 miles to the southeast. Major transportation facilities include State Route 14, State Route 138, Avenue D, and several public, private, and military airports. Existing structures on site, besides what was already mentioned, include an approximately 100 square foot well house, and the 1,400 square foot manufactured trailer mentioned previously, and a 1,400 square foot barn mentioned previously. These structures will be removed upon completion of construction. The project site has 5 water wells, 2 agricultural wells, and 1 domestic well on the western parcel and 1 agricultural well and 1 domestic well on the eastern parcel. Water consumption for facility operations, including periodic PV module washing and domestic water use, is less than 2 acre-feet per year. This water will be pumped from wells on the project site, treated as needed for use on-site, or purchased from a local cleaning contractor and transported by truck to the site. Potable water for use in the operations and maintenance building will be provided by a source approved by the LA County Department of Public Health. If during the initial 15 years of operations public water, meaning potable and/or reclaimed water, becomes available via a public pipeline within 1 mile of the project owner will utilize such water if such water is available in sufficient long-term quantity and quality at a unit price that is economically viable for the project, and if the project can acquire a right-of-way using commercially reasonable efforts in which to construct and operate a pipeline connecting to such a public pipeline. The project will comply with the Water Quality Control Plan for the Lahontan region, which will ensure that grading will not impact existing drainage paths. Equipment pads and any proposed structures will be elevated above the 100-year floodplain and will meet applicable Los Angeles County Department of Public Works standards and regulations. There is no significant or sensitive natural vegetation located on the site, and the project will take place on fallow farmland inhabited by invasive species. Staff recommends conditions for a landscaping plan for the 220 acres of the project area that will remain vacant. The proposed project is consistent with the Los Angeles County General Plan and the Antelope Valley Area-Wide General Plan for the non-urban land use designation. The project meets the definition of a utility installation referenced in the listing of non-urban and non-residential land uses allowed in remote areas designated non-urban. The project also meets many of the stated goals and policies of the Los Angeles County General Plan and the Antelope Valley Area-Wide General Plan. Project, as mentioned, meets the definition of electric generating plant in the county zoning code, and the project is in compliance with county zoning code. The proposed use is compatible with the predominant land use in the area. The adjacent neighboring parcels in all directions are zoned A2 and are vacant. Farmland is the predominant use in the area. The project includes undergrounding of power lines in consideration of long-term growth in the Antelope Valley and consistent with policy. Staff is of the opinion that the applicant has met the burden of proof. In a letter dated December 8, 2010, the Department of Public Works recommended approval of this project with conditions. In a letter dated December 17, 2010, the Fire Department set forth requirements for approval of this project. And the California Regional Water Quality Control Board for the Lahontan region provided comments on October 7, 2010, suggesting guidelines for the minimization of alterations to existing drainage paths. Staff has received a number of public comments, including letters of opposition from local town councils. Many letters expressed concern that the environmental document for this project was a mitigated negative declaration rather than an environmental impact report. Staff has also perceived a misconception that from these letters that the MND was chosen as a shortcut to expedite the process in order to meet funding deadlines. Staff would like to clarify again that the decision to use an MND was a result of the initial study process and came from following the procedures of the California Environmental Quality Act. The environmental review was mostly done by Anthony Kersey of staff, and if the Commission has any questions regarding the environmental review, Anthony Kersey is here today to respond. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff recommends denial of the appeal and approval of project number 2009-02089, subject to the conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Thurtell. Any questions of staff? Mr. Helsley?